And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And today, folks, we got a great show. We're going to do a follow-up on the Renee Good shooting out of Minneapolis. And we're going to take a look at the real reasons why they're protesting across the country. It's not because of Renee Good. It's because Minnesota has been busted, just like all the other blue states in this country that's been stealing taxpayer dollars. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio, and I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all, come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And first, let me give all praises to Yah and my Lord and Savior, Yahusha. That's Hebrew for God and Jesus Christ. And I want to welcome everybody to the show. To the American people and patriots across this country, I want us to stay focused on what the real issues are that's happening in the country today. The Democratic Party, and see, it's a real war that's going on, and it's going on in two areas. It is going on in the physical world, and it is going on in the spiritual world. See, what I'm seeing is God is beginning to unveil what's been done in the dark that's coming to the light. And there's two things that have come to the light since COVID and Barack Obama instituted the spiritual war out in the open against Yahuwah and the people in this country. See, there was a change that was made when Barack Obama got in because there had been some things brewing from a long time ago from the spiritual world, from the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And even though all this time you might not get it, but if you study, you'll understand that this war has been raging ever since the creation of man. So finally, the Sodomites have put themselves in a position to take the earth from God's chosen people. But as you would have it, God is not going to be mocked, and he shall never be defeated. And he took a president like Trump to make a difference, not only in the spiritual realm, but in the physical realm. Because what we have seen since Barack Obama and the Democrats, who instituted all the evil that the American people and patriots are seeing across this country today. What you are seeing in Minnesota is just the tip of the iceberg. Because the Democratic Party made a deal with the devil to take this earth over, and the elite Democrats who have been getting millions and trillions of dollars have been busted. So people like Ilya Omar, who openly hates the United States, who have stole trillions of dollars. We don't even know the actual amount of our money, the taxpayers, to the American people and patriots across this country. We need to stand fast with what's happening out of the White House, because the White House is setting the tone to win both of these wars. And so I'm saying it because we, Black Americans, need to know and understand, where are we fitting in this? What is the Black community going to come up out of this? Even though we are taxpayers, what is our future going to hold? And how are our communities are going to get back on track after we have let people like the Somalis and migrants come into the Black community and take over our businesses and our schools and our neighborhoods, courtesy of the Democratic Party? And in saying that, I want to get my guest in today. Black people, it's time to wake up. We got it. We in Randy, Doc, how y'all doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Every day that we can wake up under y'all's mornings, we in good shape.
Absolutely.
Now check this out, guys. Okay, so Ilya Omar has been a terrorist against this country. Even though she says she got naturalized and all the lies that she told to get in here, she has maintained an attitude of, I don't give a damn and I can start a war when I get ready. But I think she forgot that this is the United States of America. And we will not allow anybody, I don't give a damn who you are, to come into our country. You fooled us for a while, but you open with the Democrats now to do what they've done and still stand up as if they have done nothing. And so this is and I want y'all thoughts on this now. This is a revision of George Floyd for me. Because every time the Democratic Party get exposed for something that they are doing or have done against the American people and patriots across this country, we have riots. Yeah. And we're not talking about people who were great people. See, the Democrats would use anybody's death to ride on to create mayhem in the United States of America. Yeah. So they took a junkie like George Floyd. People say, well, he didn't deserve to die. Nobody deserves to die, but you reap what you sow. If you live a lifestyle of stupidity and you're on the game stage of stupidity, you just got the ultimate prize. So now here we go to the American people and patriots across this country. This whole Renee Good thing, you see how the Democratics spent the video showing like she had done nothing and that she was shot because of, I heard a wife on it. This is why I call it a spiritual war. I heard Renee's Good wife on the internet crying, saying, well, they killed her because she was queer. They killed her because she was queer. So what are you doing now? Now, see, let's switch to the spiritual side. This is Sodom and Gomorrah. This was the time that the Sodomites were supposed to take the earth over. This was their time. They've been in the background, the transgenders, the LGBT, and all the rest of these other organizations, Black Lives Matter, belong to Sodom and Gomorrah on the spiritual side in this war. And this was the time they were supposed to take the earth over. And Barack Bunkhead implemented it. Doc, your thoughts on it?
Well, it's very sad, and I've talked about this on my show. And what I find sad is that this individual was indoctrinated. And we don't talk about that. This individual was actually radicalized through her child's school, by the way. And they actually promote how they train the children to be social justice warriors. It's on their website. Okay.
Give that website out, Doc, if you can, so people can know where to go, because I want people to hear the receipts if you find it.
And, the really unfortunate part is they're playing the blame game, right? It's like, oh, now you're a victim, even though you committed 3 different federal violations. You followed them, you resisted arrest, and you didn't comply with the lawful order. Those 3 things right there should have landed you in federal prison for anywhere from a minimum of 10 years plus. You decided to run into a federal officer. You were not trying to flee, because here's the thing. They were like, she was trying to flee. No, she was actually in the middle of their investigation, blocking their pathway to move forward. They had to get out of their vehicles. Now, ICE agents don't want to get out of their vehicles, and these people are boxing them in all over the country. This isn't just an isolated incident. This is actually propagated and controlled warfare against the federal government. And they're starting with all of these agencies that you talked about, Pastor.
Randy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I will say this. Two points I have. Number one, I am not of the ilk to say that someone don't deserve to die, because it's subjective. If you did something to put yourself in a situation, you probably deserve to die. It is what it is. It's just what it is, So I can't say I can't say that I don't wish death upon somebody or they don't deserve to die. No, if you in that situation and you deserve to die, just like Samuel Jackson said in A Time to Kill.
Yep.
I hope you die and go to hell. But hey, but on the second note, with these people saying that she was trying to flee, how is that making that right? That's still illegal. So you're wrong on all fronts, regardless of what the situation was with her being there and whatnot. If she's approached by law enforcement and they tell her to get out of the vehicle, she refused, and she tried to speed off, you're still breaking the law. And so if they reacted, you can't control how people respond to you. That's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand in this world today is you do not get to control how people respond when you do something to them. And so to cry foul and say, well, this is not fair or this is not right and everything else, that's subjective, because at the end of the day, she took her vehicle, and that cop, that ICE agent, he may have interpreted that she's trying to hit me, so I'm going to respond to what she's doing. He didn't say, "Oh, hey, you just turned the car towards me. So what do you intend on doing? Are you trying to leave or are you trying to hit me? Which one are you trying to, so I can react?" it ain't right. You ain't got time for all that. And ladies and gentlemen, for you to sit here and pretend that you never been in a situation where you may have wrongly responded to something, you haven't lived life then.
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing of it is too is that I don't quite understand, and to the American people and patriots across this country, in the great country of the United States of America, we have to really recognize bullshit when we see it now. Because we understand this, especially Black citizens. I was out earlier today, man, and I was talking to some of the guys here in town, and they're pissed off because they can see clearly that this is the Democratic Party's ploy to try to attract Black people to come in two ways. They want us out there on the battlefield with them with Renee Good, and she put herself in that position to happen.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then they wanted us out there with the Somalis and to stand up with them. You know what? Black people don't want the hell up. We're not getting involved with this. What we should be thinking about is how do we come out of this and bring ourselves together so that we can reap the benefits of what's left behind, because there's no more bullshit for Black people to be sitting around talking about some damn reparations. That they don't have reparations when they've given all this money to illegal migrants, to Somalis who have stole from this country. I mean, it is ugly on what has happened in this country, and President Trump is doing what he's supposed to be doing. Yeah. So Black people, we need to be thinking about what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen to our communities. That's my whole thing. I'm saying, how are we going to benefit from this? We benefit one way by waking up and saying, we can't deal with the Democrats no more because they're a piece of crap.
Yeah, we got to delineate.
We can't deal with that.
Yeah. Hey,
so
Pastor,
go ahead.
Pastor, to that point, though, for the Black communities to sit back on the sidelines, you see the liberals, they're looking, especially liberal white women, especially. liberal white women are the most atrocious of the whole, you know,
Hillary
collective.
Clinton.
The whole collective, yes, they're the most atrocious because they look at you and they say, "Why are you not getting involved? Why are you not helping us?" And this and that.
Right,
And so
exactly.
they try
Like
to
it's
guilt
our
trip you into
responsibility.
exactly, yes. And it's like this is not my fight. No, this is our fight, you know, and we're all in this together. It's like, where were you at when we needed, you know, some of that money?
Exactly.
Where were you at when we needed to get our community
Hello.
fixed? Well, it's just not your time right now. You know, they have a comeback for everything.
Okay.
And it's just like
They do. They
it's
do.
like shut up, just shut up talking to me, get out of my face before you get shot in the face, you know. And that's what it's just crazy to me that, you know, I'm happy to see that the black community is waking up to it and seeing that they're no longer going to be the lap dogs, or no longer going to be, you know, the go-to emotional support animal for
Mhm.
the
Yep.
liberals BS, because that's what we are.
Yes.
We are the
Yep.
emotional support animal. Every time something happens, they stop and say, wait.
Mhm.
Let the black folks know.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think
put the
black
posters up
people,
there.
yeah,
Mhm.
Go ahead,
black people, to you, Randy, have woken up to this. You will not surely die. Right?
Yeah.
That was the lie that was told in the Garden of Eden. If
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
eat this, if you do this, you will not surely die. And I think black people have woken up to it's like, yes, we will.
You will.
Mhm.
If we continue
Exactly.
down this path, we will. You don't want anything but death and destruction. You know, they're calling for people to get guns and shoot and fight
Yes.
Exactly.
ICE. And
Yeah.
about a sheriff in Philadelphia saying they're not real officers. You're right. They're not police officers. They're federal agents.
Mhm.
They're
Well, you know,
above officers.
and you know,
Exactly.
That's crazy.
I saw that fat black cop. She's a DEI hire. That's why her
Oh, you
city
know
is
it.
in, that's why the
Look at
city is in the condition. And this is what I'm telling black people today. We got to change the black leadership throughout
Yeah.
the country.
Mhm.
Black people, everyday black people who are experiencing the high taxes. Look at Chicago. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor. This is dumb nonsense. It's totally nonsense. The citizens of
Everybody got
Chicago,
raises and the property
right,
taxes went up. What?
the property taxes went up. The black community
Criminal.
been decimated in Chicago after Brandon Johnson opened up the borders and let all the illegals get here.
Mhm.
Our city has been inundated and the black community has been taken over, whether you want to believe it or not.
Mhm.
And not one black politician in Chicago, from Jesse Jackson Jr. to Brandon Johnson to Emo Jones to all of these House Negro politicians in Chicago, have not stood up for the black community
Yeah.
and said, hey, wait a minute, you can't do this in the black community. You know why, black people? It's happening all over the country. These house niggas and these bullshit preachers got to go. Just like we saw them Negro preachers in Chicago, Hatch and all of them. What have they been? You've been sitting back watching this takeover of the black community, the disrespect to the church. You've been sitting back and you've been quiet because you've been getting your hush your mouth ass money from Brandon Johnson.
Come
And
on.
then
Come
he
on.
turned around and raised the taxes on you.
Come on.
This is
133%.
how socialism works.
Come on.
Socialism.
But just think about this, guys. Think about this. And one of the preachers said, Ira Ackery said, well, yeah, this is a blue state, and we did vote for him. Could you know how asinine that is to support the man that raised your taxes? But see, that's the leadership.
Mhm.
Those are the bad pastors, because a real man of God would stand up like I'm telling black people, we need to wake the hell up. We need to become self-sufficient. We spend our own money in our own communities. This is direction that I'm taking Chicago in. We're supposed to help the least communities. And I'm asking the citizens of Chicago, when I take the 5th floor, help us rebuild the black community. We build ourselves out. The black community needs to be rebuilt. We don't need to keep bringing other people in on top of us, and our children are not learning nothing. I'm just surprised, I'm here in Georgia, and man, their school system has the lowest educational testing and rating all over America, the lowest. When I talk to some of the young men that can't hold a sentence, all the job opportunities here, just like in Chicago, they are not ready to be put in position to get those positions. And as men and women of God, we should be trying to figure out ways how to put our children in a job at Mitsubishi somewhere that's making $100,000 a year, and the job openings are there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this Black leadership should be doing.
On purpose. I mean, yeah, there's more than like over 50% of the people right now in the United States don't even have a third grade reading level. Okay. At third grade is what's happening. The whole city of South Bend, Indiana, they couldn't pass the third grade current students to the next grade level because they were not at reading level.
Wow.
So this is intentional. And most of these schools are run by Democrats at the local level. Even in the private schools, this is happening. So this is intentional. This is not an accident.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Shack. And to caveat on that, the other problem is that you have the H-1B visa program that's being ushered, that has been ushered in for the last couple of decades to squelch the growth of the American student and make them to help them become competitive in the global markets and everything else. So we got crushed in that domain, vocational, educational, corporate, all of that. We've been crushed, and it's all at the hands of these liberal educators, and they did it intentionally because they already got their nest egg. They already got their money.
Right.
They're good. They don't care. And then they say, hey, oh, by the way,
they don't.
You Indians, you Chinese, you Japanese, you Russians, and everybody else, y'all come on over here and take these jobs from these folks. They stupid. They don't know any better. They don't deserve it. And boom, here we are. And now we're at the cusp of a collapse in our economic system.
Yes.
Because we have, because all politics are local. And when I say the collapse of our economic system, the economic system at the local level with the increase of taxes. So now that's the way you don't have the education to hold a job. So you don't have the education or the finances to hold your property. So we're going to come in and take it, steamroll you, get you out and take this over. Now you're on the streets. Now you're in jail. Now you're dead. We're now running America. Thank you for being stupid. And that is the long game.
It is because we can see it. Like I said, I was talking to some young people, and I was concerned they needed some employment. And so I said, why don't you call up this company? There was illegals that were about 400 or 500 that was taken out, and see if you can get a position. Well, first of all, they could hardly navigate the system to get into the website to put an application in.
Wow.
So that told me right there that our young people who have the heart and want to make changes in their lives and do something constructive do not understand how to even use those programs to get into an employer to apply for the job. Our young people do not have job readiness.
They're
because
not equipped.
Exactly. Where you can walk in 1974, I could MIG weld from Tilden Technical High School. I left. I dropped out of college. I went to Bettendorf, Iowa at 16 years old, and I became a MIG welder. I didn't know how to MIG weld. I knew how to stick and solder. But they brought me in. They taught me how to MIG weld. I went on to get certified by the state, and I made $80,000 to $90,000 to $100,000 a year in 1974. But I was job ready. See, our kids are not job ready, and that's what the problem is. And I think that. What are your thoughts, Doc? You think that this is something that, as pastors, as politicians, we should be capitalizing on these things for the children now. We should be saying in the black community, hold up, we ain't worried about the migrants. Let us get our children together, make them job ready. They can take these positions because you can't be no man if you ain't got no money to do the responsibilities of a man. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know, I definitely understand what you're saying, but see, the biggest problem in the black community is homosexuality within the church. So it is very difficult for one man to call another man higher when he's not even acting like a man himself. Like this really comes back to the heart of the matter. Like, let's really be real. Now, I cannot admonish a man, but I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring this up.
Go on, Red. Go on, Red.
Long time coming. This been a long time coming.
Come on, Doc. Say it. Say it for the folks in the back.
You need to deal with the root of the issue.
Yes.
The root of the issue is the demonic pastors that we have, especially in the black church. They need to be uprooted and removed, exposed, everything. All of the pastors, you know, having prostitutes at these seminars and all of these getaways and all these other, look, do your job.
Come on.
And if you can't do your job, move out of the way so somebody else can. Just saying.
Thank you, Dr. Shack, because I say it all the time. These pastors that's preaching homosexuality. I got into a debate with somebody on Facebook the other day. It was on a friend's post. He posts controversial stuff and he just gets the reaction out of the audience. And the one guy was like, he was saying that, you know, it was okay for Christians to be homosexuals. And I said, please show me in the Bible where it says that. And I laid out all the scriptures. And he said, but Jesus said. And I said, we're not going to do that. You're not going to fool me to say, to collaborate with you and say that Jesus says, love thy neighbor and all that. He says, love thy neighbor, yes, but he didn't say nothing about love them where to the fact that it's okay to be gay with them. Yeah. That's not in there, bro. And he was like, well, you don't know my story. I don't give a damn about your story. Exactly. The story has nothing to do with the Bible and what God said. So miss me with that. He said, what my pastor said. I said, your pastor's an apostate. He needs to be fired. He needs to be derobed, dethroned, and kicked out of the church. And that church needs to be repainted, renamed to something else because it is not a church. So miss me with that. And go ahead.
I want you to say it because I'm gonna bring some legitimacy to what you're saying.
Yeah, I was saying this is not only just in the black community. This is across, you know, America, where churches are trying to embrace this, and they try to convolute the scriptures to say that they ignore the passages about, you know, homosexuality. They ignore it. They say, yeah, exactly, and they say, oh, what Jesus says, love thy neighbor and love thyself, as you know, love others as thyself, and yeah, he did say all that. You are absolutely right. But you can love the person and hate the sin. And at the end of the day, when you're trying to justify the sin as the person, then you're totally wrong. And you got Jesus backwards because what did he say? You may come up here and say, oh, Father, I did all these great works and everything else. He's gonna say, yeah, that's great. Away from me, thou worker of iniquity. And what does iniquity mean, folks? Lawlessness. So don't sit here and play with me about, you know, but what did Jesus say? Jesus said to stop the shit out.
I wanted to also mention, Pastor, in your area, there's actually a program that was put together at one of the community colleges. And basically, if you're an American citizen, you have to either come from a home that's low income or one of your parents was arrested and you grew up with one parent, or not even single parent household, right? You have to have one parent arrested. It's like 3 or 4 things that you have to trauma bond with, as Daniel Carter likes to say. But then it's all open to migrants, and you just have to be a migrant to be accepted. So you don't have to be trauma bonded to be a migrant to actually get construction and electrician certifications for free in Chicago, but you got a trauma bond. If
I'm gonna let you explain it. Now you know, remember, guys.
Go ahead, Renee.
I just had a question. I just had a question on that on that program. Can I identify as illegal to qualify for this program?
Well, let me tell you.
You know what? You can trans-identify as an immigrant.
Yeah,
trans-identify.
That's what we need to start doing.
Somebody did that before, and they were like, "But yes, you can. If everybody else can be trans, I can be a trans migrant."
The transmigrant. There you go.
Period.
All right,
And you
Pastor.
can't deny me. The
Two
second
things I
Supreme
want to
Court-
address right quick so we're gonna put this whole thing to bed. Doc, I'm glad you said what you said. To the American people and patriots across this country, I'm about to make a profound statement that make you think. Jesus was a Hebrew, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Jesus was a Hebrew, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the Ethiopian Bible has all of the chapters in it, from Enoch to Jubilees and all of
Yes.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question to believers, and I'm suggesting people do some exploration on this. If Jesus wasn't the name of the Savior because it's Yahusha, and this is why I'm saying what I'm saying, it was Yahusha. That's the Hebrew pronunciation of what the Greeks took and turned into Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we got that. Bible was taken by the Catholics for over 400 years, and they rewrote it 17 times, and the version that we have is today. So
Yes.
in the Bible today, it says every tongue must confess and every knee must bow to the name of Jesus Christ. So my question is this: if Jesus Christ, the name Jesus Christ, was put into the Bible over 400 or 500 years ago, what was his name before the Greeks translated it to Jesus? Think about that. What was Christ's real name?
Yeah.
So that's why I say Yahusha.
Mm-hmm.
That's Hebrew. If he was a Hebrew, why are we not calling him by his Hebrew name instead of the name that the Greeks stole and gave to him, Jesus? Now, y'all can take that and think about it, whatever you want to do. What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
I mean, you have a valid point, because I mean, I've seen exhaustive concordances that have gone from, dialectic ancient Hebrew to Hebrew, right? Because there are two different translations of Hebrew.
Yes.
Because I actually dated somebody who read ancient Hebrew. It was very intense. And then you go into the translations of Greek. You also go into translations of Italian, right? And so each translation, you're going to get a different iteration of a name. And it's the name above all names, right? That every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. So,
Yes.
I mean, I definitely give preface to what you're saying, but we can still chase demons off with the name of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Saying the name of Jesus Christ will still ward off demons, because the Spirit still utters the power behind that name, even if we're mispronouncing it.
In Revelations, Revelations, it says that in the last days and times, even the elect saints will be deceived.
Will be deceived. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the variations, like you're saying, Doc, the Italian said this, the Italian said that, this one said that, the Greek said this, but I'm not Greek.
Got to go back to the root.
I'm going back to the root. Right. I'm not Greek
or Italian.
But let us not forget that the translations from Hebrew also was a derivation. How I said that, but it was of Latin, and so you have to understand. You have to understand Latin to understand because Latin is the base language of all languages, and a lot of people
it is.
And a lot of people they kind of they tend to forget that, or they don't know that. So when you're looking at
they call it the dead language.
They take the dead language, but it's not. It's a very active language. It's the oldest and most active language in the world. And so when you understand Latin and you understand translations, yes, because a lot of languages don't have certain letters in it.
Like there was no J in the Hebrew alphabet. That was no J.
Yeah, so, exactly, and same thing with Spanish. With the Spanish language, there's certain letters don't exist.
That's what they say in Spanish.
Yep, and so it's it's not necessarily a thing of a nefarious intent. It's a thing of regional concern that how can I say this word or say this name because we can't write it because it doesn't exist for us. So it's
you know what that means is that you have to go back to the root what we was talking about.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
See,
And then, yeah.
That's because I'm an African. My descents of Africans, wherever I'm black. That's what they say. We are descents of Africa. So whatever language that the Africans was using, because Moses was black and Joshua was black and all the rest of
they were Hebrews. They were Hebrews. Now there's a difference between an American Negro and Hebrews. Right? Now some of us are Hebrews that were here on the soil before other people got here. So we have to look at that distinction.
The distinction.
But we are descendants of them. We are remnants of them. That's the point that I'm making. See, that's the spiritual side that a lot of us is having, and a lot of pastors should be rethinking the way that they're thinking. And I'm not saying you have to read for yourself to show yourself approved. And pastors, whatever you've been rolling with, that's what you roll with. But I can tell you this, we have to open our minds to the truth. And if the Ethiopian Bible is untouched and it has all the chapters in it, then that's what we should be looking at, that Bible, and getting a clear understanding on what we're reading from the Bible that's missing all the other chapters. That's the point that I'm making.
I would say I have a banner on my wall and it says Cognoscetis veritatem et veritas vos liberatet. That means it's Latin for those who know the truth will set you free. And it's in the Bible. It's in I think it's John 8:13, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a translation, and so you see a series of words and letters, and you're like, what does that mean? And then you translate it, and it's something, you read something totally different than what you thought it would be.
Exactly.
So that's why I say, you to understand the variations of the languages, you have to look at the root language.
Man, there you go, man. You confirming what I'm talking about because for me, I serve Yahusha, and that's the root language that I went back to because I'm of the Ethiopian descent. I'm not Latin, I'm not Greek, I'm not Italian. I'm from the African descent, so that's what I respect. But people gonna do whatever they want to do. But that spiritual war, that's the war that's going on in our head because we don't know who we are. Yeah. And so we let everybody step on us and do what they're doing to us in our community, and we ain't standing up for ourselves. And so getting back to this whole thing of right now is that Black people, we need to stand down from these other situations like Renee Good with the migrants, and we need to start focusing on how we as a community are going to get ourselves back on track so we can get God's favor again. I want to play that clip, man, because I want people to see actually what happened out there, because the real clip came up showing that Miss Good was, just like you said, Doc, she was a paid professional agitator. Yeah. And she was doing her job, so she got dealt with the way she played her hand. Check this out.
Fox News alert. That video from the ICE agent involved in this week's shooting in Minnesota shows the threat the officer was facing.
It all began with a controversial shooting in Minneapolis during an immigration enforcement operation. An ICE agent fired his weapon after a confrontation involving a vehicle, resulting in the death of a 37-year-old woman.
Vice President J.D. Vance reacted to this new video on X, saying, "Many of you have been told this law enforcement officer wasn't hit by a car, wasn't being harassed, and murdered an innocent woman. The reality is that his life was endangered and he fired in self-defense."
Federal authorities stated the agent acted in self-defense, while the incident immediately sparked public scrutiny and protests.
Remember, why are we in that city right now? Because we're a sanctuary city. that purposely releases public safety threats back into the public. I just mentioned about all these cases that child sex trafficking, child sodomy, child rape, that they release back into the community. These are people we have to go look for.
That single shot did not end the operation. It triggered a far broader federal investigation that would uncover a large criminal network, multi-state raids, and corruption reaching into city government. Let me show you. 3:12 a.m., South Minneapolis. While the city slept, unmarked federal vehicles cut their lights and rolled into position around a 14-story hotel near the interstate. In seconds, exits were locked down. Elevators were frozen between floors. Stairwells were taken by armed teams moving fast and low. Doors were breached without warning. Flashlights cut through dark hallways as agents shouted commands. Occupants were forced to the ground, hands visible. Rooms cleared one by one. The operation moved upward, floor by floor, leaving no blind spots behind. In less than 45 minutes, IC, DHS, and DEA detained 236 illegal immigrants, nearly 180 of them Somali nationals. Luggage was pulled apart, false identities collapsed. Agents recovered 127 forged passports, stacks of prepaid phones, and envelopes of cash hidden in ceiling panels. Then the operation took a darker turn. Search teams uncovered 39 firearms, including loaded pistols and assault-style rifles. In maintenance rooms and locked suitcases, they seized cocaine and fentanyl, packaged for distribution, not personal use. Cash totals climbed past $4 million. What began as an immigration sweep escalated within minutes. The weapons, drugs, and cash revealed the hotel was an armed distribution hub, not a shelter. In that instant, agents realized the city was facing a major criminal threat, not an immigration case. If you believe this hotel raid exposed more than just immigration violations, tap like right now and comment investigate if you think this was only the...
Doc, your thoughts on that?
I'm grateful they're on the job. I truly, truly am. But people need to realize they've been doing this for over 20 years. The officer that unfortunately got in that incident and was hit and he fired in defense of his life, he's been an officer or an agent for over a decade. So he actually served under the Obama administration and the Trump administration and the Biden administration. Okay. So these individuals aren't just people that they're throwing out on the street after 90 days.
Exactly.
A lot of these individuals have been there for decades, just like Tom Homan has been there for decades. So these aren't just anybody that's protecting us. And it's very sad how now the people that are protecting us have become the enemy. And it's interesting because the left has gone so far that they're circling back and they're eating themselves. It's very crazy.
Randy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Doc. They are eating themselves. And now that all of this stuff has been exposed, and that was a great video, Pastor, that you played there, because it highlights the level of complexity that these officers are dealing with. It's one thing to say, oh, you know, we snatched up an illegal immigrant, but then you start to peel back the onion on that particular illegal immigrant. How did he get here? What finances are tied to him? What drug rings are tied to him and everything else? Why is he here or she? You know, and everything else. It goes beyond, just the idea of, oh, I'm looking for a better life. Yeah, you're looking for a better life to further finance, your lifestyle.
Stuff. Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. If people don't want to have that conversation at the end of the day, and we see clearly with this hotel raid, this is not the only hotel, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
I guarantee you that. You look at any ran down hotel in your neck of the woods, and you can ask yourself, is this a up and up hotel? Like, are they just poor and it's just a cheap rent hotel? No, it's probably a cover. And I speak to this from an Italian perspective, living in Italy and dealing with some of the mafias and stuff out there. They're your everyday people, if they're part of the mafia. It's not like what you see on TV and the movies and stuff like that. No. It could be your garbage collector. It could be a teacher.
Yes.
It could be a restaurant cooker. Yeah. But they're part of the mafia. And so they will have these little stash rooms, stash houses, and stash spaces and guns and everything else. So when it's time to do the business, the business gets done. So
they hide in plain sight.
Plain sight, exactly. Yes. They hide in plain sight. And so Minnesota is just one location out of the millions.
Well, that's the thing that we have to be very cognizant of. at this level of corruption. This goes beyond the normal, catching somebody with a few keys and money. This is infested into Minnesota, just like it's infested in Chicago and California. These are the payoff places that the Democratic Party have been taking money from these cartels in order to keep doing what they're doing, still in the election. I mean, this to the American people and patriots. After we see this type of situation where look at all the drugs, the money, the guns. It was a distribution center, and yet it's supposed to be in some kind of daycare place.
Mm-hmm.
That's the level of corruption. And Ilya Omar and Tim Walz have pervaded this whole thing. They've been doing this for what? Probably 20 years. This has been brewing. But at this level, the American people now really need to understand we need to support the White House more than ever right now, because all of our communities are infested the same way. Chicago is infested just like this. And the corruption is go all the way up to J.B. Pritzker. That's why they fight and trying to
top.
Yeah. They know. Gavin Newsom in California. It's all of them. They all involved in the same scam to steal money. And that's why they wanted to kill Trump. That's why they did what they did. Now it's all coming out in our face. Two murder attempts, 35 charges. They wanted to break him. All of that because he knew what they did and he wanted to protect the American people. And he caught hell trying to wake us up. And now that he's being able to expose all of this.
Now it's time for all of them to go to jail.
It's
I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about.
So what are they going to do now?
Exactly.
What are they going to do now? Are they going to start
hear...
protesting that none of them should go to jail? I mean, because that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
What else are you going to do? What else are you going to do?
And that's what they're going to. You're right, Dr.
Shack. Send them to jail.
You're right, Dr. Shack. That's what. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, you have to pay attention to this narrative that they're pushing. They're saying that Trump is doing political retribution, and that's my answer to that.
Look, Hillary and Bill don't want to show up to Congress to testify about the Epstein files. Y'all was crying about the Epstein files to be released.
Y'all got
Federal judges are blocking the release of the files, even though Congress was released it, even though the president's released it. You're still blocking it. Hillary and Bill don't want to show up. I mean, I'm telling you, on top of all of this, but it's all intermingled.
It's all intermingled.
It is. I would say
it is crazy. It's like madness and sanity. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching TV and you see anybody advocating for, the corruption and trying to justify it, that should tell you all right out the gate, that's a corrupt individual.
Yes.
Right at the gate. Yeah. If they're not saying, yes, this is wrong and we need to fix this and this. If they're not on those lines, if they're not looking in the camera and saying that, automatically right out the gate, no matter what their background is, they are a corrupt individual with a horrible soul to them. And it goes back to what my opening statement was.
And Randy,
a lot of them, they were blaming the baby.
Yeah.
They were blaming the baby. How you gonna blame Nick Shirley for finding fraud? What? All of the big news anchors came out. I was like, where y'all been? This baby's been crying about this for months online.
But you know what?
Where have you been? And now that you're here, you're blaming the baby.
That was so profound what you just said, Randy, because to the Black community across the country, if you do not understand what Randy just said, is that if the Black political leaders, if the political leaders are not standing up for the Black community, after we see all of this happening, and if Black leaders are not saying, hey, we need to get together, we need to stop it, we need to clean the community out, we need to do what we need to do for our schools with our children, you don't see no Black leaders saying nothing but going along with the program.
He's hanging around with Mondani. Yeah. He's hanging around with Mondani. Come on now. Come on now. He ain't on the street. He ain't caring about nobody but his pocket.
This is the seriousness of the matter for the Black community and the way we should be thinking. Because the war is being raised psychologically on us to where we think that we don't deserve nothing.
Yep.
See, that was Barack Obama when he planned to plant the seed to Black Americans to say, well, Black people don't need no reparations. But you gave money to everybody else except Black people who voted your ass in office.
I said this on my program earlier.
Twice.
I said this on my program earlier about Barack Obama. See, ladies and gentlemen, in 2014-ish, 2013, 2014 window, he had the Somali refugee resettlement program. A lot of people don't know about this. And he flew in, drove in thousands of Somalis. And it started in Anchorage, Alaska, where I was living at the time. It started in Alaska. We literally overnight, we woke up the next day and there were thousands of Somalis just walking around Anchorage. And we was like, who are you and where the hell did you come from? Because you don't belong here. you don't fit in, type of thing.
Clearly.
Right? And so they ended up shutting down our one stadium that we had there for our hockey team to house them and to figure it out. And so from there, they just migrated out.
Yes.
And they went across Canada. You notice the hub is in the northern part of the United States. So they went from Alaska through Canada, and now they're in Minnesota, Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan, and
Chicago.
Look, they ain't coming down south with the real Black folks.
No,
they ain't coming down here with us. We got some of them in Georgia.
Some
they might have to go.
There's some.
There's
some.
Just saying they might get kicked out.
And so that's it started back with Obama bringing ushering this in, and Ilhan Omar. She was part of that first wave.
Yes.
And so everybody has to understand
that. In the 90s,
and so we still have to really and see how.
And then Obama capitalized on it.
Correct.
Now, I'm glad y'all saying it because I want the American people to see just what you said. See, this is why I say it's a spiritual war that's been spilled over into the physical world.
Yeah.
Because see, Barack Obama represents homosexuality. Okay, that's what he represents. You know, and the proof is in the pudding with the laws that he passed, the money he gave the LGBT, all of that. So he's a descendant of the Sodomites. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why you got the spiritual stuff entwined with the drugs, the homosexuality, the hatred for this country. I mean, all of that is there. And so that's why this is difficult for a lot of people to see. And they think, well, Obama set in motion a lot of evil things.
Yeah.
He unleashed a lot of evil things in this country and in the world. And it was smart countries that didn't fall for it. But that was his mission, was to overtake the world with homosexuality. Leviticus 20:13 states that a man that lays with another man in the fashion of a woman is an abomination to God. And that don't change.
Simple.
You can't change the word of God. If he said that's what it was, that's what it is. And so we have
I'm waiting to see a passage. I'm waiting for somebody to quote some scripture that said that later on in the Bible, he says, never mind about what I said earlier.
See, because
I'm
not gonna find it. Not gonna
even
find
in
it.
this Bible, the King James
I've read the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch.
Yes,
I've read the lost books of the Bible. It's very consistent.
It is consistent.
That one particular topic, it is an abomination. Period.
And it is an abomination. It is what it is, and so.
And Pastor, real quick, I had asked this question to somebody about this. I said, okay, let's step away from the Bible for a minute. Let's look at the Quran. What does the Quran say about homosexuality? Kill them. It's cut and dry. It's cut
even though they're sleeping with 9-year-old boys and they try to justify that nonsense. Yeah, there's a lot of pedophilia that does happen within the Muslim community. It's crazy.
It does. But when they look at the holisticness of the LGBTQ community, it is totally incompatible with Islam and with Muslims. And they will look at you and they will tell you to your face, if you're gay or if you're in that lifestyle, you will die in our country or in our community and this and the other. And they go, gays for Muslims. And it's like, huh?
Well, and this is why I say,
because see, they rather roll with degeneracy than actually roll with people who are trying to be Christians. That's why you don't see them in the Republican Party.
Exactly.
Because they'd rather roll with degeneracy because the degenerates will uphold them. And they've already staked their claim. They're like, yeah, we'll mess with y'all, but we ain't gonna mess with people like Trump because they'll find us out.
What did it say? FOFA. But to your point, Randy, to your point, Randy, the Romans and the Greeks, most of them was all homosexuals. Plato, Aristotle, and all the rest of them were homosexuals. You know, and so when you're talking about a group of people that endorsed it and who lived it and who wanted it, and that's why we see what we're seeing in America today, because these are the sodomites, the remnants of them who've raised their heads through different ways and different try to take over the world. And that's what they have been trying to do. And Trump has thrown a wrench in that. So let's say this, guys. So you agree that this spiritual war has become physical and that it's destroying America if the American people don't wake up and get us back to basics and get us back to the way things used to be when we honor God first. What's your thoughts on that?
It is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
we've been in that.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Also, we've been in a physical war for the longest. This is what we call guerrilla warfare, non-kinetic in a sense, but kinetic. You know, so we've been there. The problem is the people that's involved in it don't realize it themselves. They just think this is just clamor, this is just rhetoric. They're not realizing that we're actually in a spiritual battle that has now turned into the physical form. And once they do wake up and realize that, they're going to take a pause back and say, what exactly am I fighting for? Who am I fighting for? You know, type of thing. And until then, this is what we're going to continue to see.
We've seen it how it did the Black community, and it was tested on the Black community because now our community are producing more homosexuals than anybody else right now. All those single moms, those young boys, they've turned to that type of lifestyle because they thought that it was okay to do that. There was no real father figures to stand back and set a standard or structure for these young men. And so they've moved to that lifestyle, whatever their society said that they could do, that it was okay. And it's not okay.
Exactly.
So, but I want to play another clip about this. Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead. I'm going to cue this clip up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick. It's definitely been a war against the Black community because, you know, the art of war is you have to destabilize somebody's ability to move, shoot, and communicate. Right.
Exactly.
So move and communicate. They've definitely done that in the Black community. And it's been a constant barrage of trying to remove our ability to protect ourselves, even with firearms, especially in the Black community. We have the highest incarceration rate. And one of those incarceration rates are because you have weapons, because you have firearms. It's not necessarily always drugs. Right. So we've been at war with our federal government for a long time. I should say our federal government's been at war with us, and it's been allowed even at the local level.
Yes. Well, the 94
that's
crime
where we
bill.
just have to become more politically savvy and maneuver.
Yes. Well, with the 94 crime bill came all the new rules that was unconstitutional that was aimed at the Black community. And that hurt us bad with the crack epidemic, then the guns, then the hip hop came. And then God was pushed totally out the picture, and our children don't have a spiritual foundation. That's why they are doing anything. Check this out, guys.
I'm the National News Desk, Taylor Murray. The Trump administration continues its response to Minnesota's decade-long social services fraud scandal that may cost taxpayers $9 billion. The U.S. Agriculture Department announcing that it is freezing $129 million in food stamp funding from Minnesota. The Trump administration's latest hold on welfare funding to Democratic states.
We've got to look at states where there's massive amounts of fraud in the welfare population, in the welfare programs, and try to eliminate that fraud.
The Government Accountability Office estimates that the federal government loses up to $521 billion annually to fraud. Last week, Vice President J.D. Vance announcing a Justice Department task force to investigate fraud across the country.
Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others. Make it hard for you to get the access to the resources you need.
98 have faced federal charges in Minnesota so far. The vast majority, 85, are part of the state's large Somali community. Republicans accuse the state's governor, Tim Walz, and other Democrats of overlooking the fraud for political reasons.
Because the Somali population is such a massive voting bloc for the Democrat Party in Minnesota, they've turned a blind eye.
Democrats say Republicans are unfairly targeting a minority community.
The fraud is very real, and by the way, when somebody commits fraud, you prosecute, and yeah, you put the person in jail. As an individual, you do not hold an entire community, any community, accountable for the actions of individuals.
It's inside.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Department of Health and Human Services from cutting off about $10 billion in federal funds for social services and child care for 5 Democratic-led states. Now, the agency says the move was necessary to crack down on fraud, but the states argue the administration's effort is unconstitutional. For the National News Desk, I'm
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No, it's not. First of all, welfare is not constitutional. I need everybody out there it's not good. Look, the Constitution doesn't owe you anything. Okay? It doesn't. Now, you can use the Constitution for repair, right? If you have actually violated your rights. However,
correct.
There's nothing in the Constitution that says that anybody in our federal government has to give the states federal funding for an entitlement program. There's nothing there that says that. Nowhere. Okay. Welfare is not a thing. And the federal government can withhold it.
Exactly.
Now, if the states want to use their own funds to support their own people, that's their business. Then the federal government can't tell them how to spend the money amongst the thieves that are their own state. Okay, that will be their own thievery. But see, it's always been on the inside, and they're finding this out. They're finding out, especially in Minnesota, that their whole administration was told to stand down and to continue to send this money to this criminal activity happening. They'll all go to jail. Everybody.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, Dr. Shack. It is actually unconstitutional for the federal government to give money to states in this regard because it violates the general welfare clause of the Constitution.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't understand it because they hear that welfare is in the Constitution, but they misinterpret what that actually means. It's the general welfare of the government's job to protect the people, from foreign enemies, from domestic enemies,
exactly,
to make sure that the rights of the individual's citizens is protected. And it's not anything about we're gonna make sure you eat and you have a roof over your head. No, you figure that shit out on your own. So that's what people miss that. And so for the states to turn around and say, well, we're gonna sue the government because they're blocking our funding. Good luck in court, guy. And for these judges, that try to exactly. It's like show me a line item. Show me a line item in the federal budget where it is mandatory spending, not discretionary spending. That is mandatory spending to go to the states for whatever programs that you're trying to allocate for.
Right.
Earmarking was once banned out of Congress under Speaker John Boehner. It was banned because of this very issue. It was like, hey, it's too much fraud going on. These money is going to what program? To what project? Oh, hell no. Get that out of here. And so they banned it, but they brought it back under Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi brought back earmarking to Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, call your Congress people and tell them, and your senators, and tell the administration, if you don't think of the administration, ban earmarking again.
Yep. Because, just as we are speaking right now, to the American people and patriots across this country, had not President Trump froze the money going to Minnesota, Ilya Omar would have gotten another $1 million. They found it in the budget, whatever they was about to allocate money to Minnesota. They found another $1 million for a center that did not exist for substance abuse.
And that goes back to the earmarking. She earmarked that $1 million.
She earmarked that money
for herself.
And I don't know. I don't know what this guy was talking about, because all the Somalis need to go home. We need to get them out of here and get them off our system so we can really find out how much damage this has already done. Yeah. But see, the big thing of it is,
and people to understand too, is like, we're not picking on them. Like, oh, why are you picking on Somalis? They do not align with our values.
Right.
Period.
You have to change.
That's why they need to be off the soil. They need to go where they align.
Yes.
I'll pick on them. I don't give a damn. Yeah, you're a target. You're in the bullseye because you got exposed. So yeah,
but you got caught.
Your turn.
That's what I'm telling people. Y'all have to really pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes. Don't get caught up with this Renee Good thing, because they're trying to make her like she was a wholesome mother of 2 kids and all that. That's bullcrap. She was a paid agitator who did the things that she was told to do by Black Lives Matter, because they're behind the scenes. Black Lives Matter behind the scenes pushing these other organizations, and NAACP and all the rest of them. But this is what Christy Norm said. I got another video. We're going to do these last two, but I'm doing this just to prove my point, so the American people who watch this show can really understand the gravity of the importance and the corruption that we are facing right now in this country.
TPS is a program that was always meant to be temporary. It's a program that is put in place, and I believe for Somalia over 30 years ago, and will need to be evaluated to make sure that it comes and is always implemented in the process for which it was intended.
The Trump administration has abruptly ended protections from deportation, known as temporary protected status, for all illegal immigrants in the United States from Somalia who have been covered under the government program, according to the Department of Homeland Security. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem decided that allowing Somali nationals to remain temporarily in the United States is contrary to our national interests, according to a statement given to the Washington Examiner, giving Somalis in the TPS program 2 months warning before Immigration and Customs Enforcement could show up looking for them. Somalis will now have until March 17th to leave the United States. Somali immigrants have been accused of orchestrating a successful billion-dollar fraud ring that siphons large sums of money from the U.S. government intended for statewide charities in Minnesota. Republicans in the Trump administration are pushing for the denaturalization of any immigrant-turned-citizen who is found to have stolen U.S. tax dollars and fraudulently obtained Minnesota welfare funds. Roughly 2,400 illegal immigrants from Somalia are protected from deportation under TPS, including 600 residing in Minnesota, according to Fox News.
Okay, guys, your thoughts on that, Doc?
Well, it's sad. I mean, it's exhausting. It really is. It's exhausting because since 1965, the Democratic Party, and maybe some in the Republican Party, because they benefited from it too, they've allowed this mass immigration, whether it was legal or illegal, right? Prominently, they used it to destroy the Black community, but now they're suffering from it themselves. And then with the progressive mindset that Malcolm X talked about, he said a progressive is far worse than a conservative, because a progressive will lie to you and tell you they're on your side and then undercut you. At least a conservative will tell you straight to your face that they don't want to have anything to do with you. Okay. He wasn't wrong in that. And these people, they have to go. They are just not aligned with our values as American citizens. And they don't vet these people, by the way. They just get to come over here. They get to come over here. They get to get naturalized, but they are not vetted. So we don't even know who's coming over here. So you want to know why 12-year-olds are getting raped in their backyard and why they are sodomizing all of these people? Because we have not gotten their best. Let's just put it that way. Are there any best? Because they're still a war-torn country, by the way.
Yes, they are.
I'm going to give some historical context here. I'm going to take it back to 1994 Mogadishu, Somalia.
Oh,
And this is where it all started, ladies and gentlemen. When we went in there and we tried to, bring in aid and feed the people there and all that, and take out the drug lords and their version of cartels and whatnot. The Bush administration of Bush, it started under Bush and it kind of transitioned under Clinton, and so Clinton finished it off and brought all those people over here as an asylum program, and so it kind of kicked off there. So all these people, they're saying that, oh, they're American citizens. Wrong. And let's couple that now. Let's fast forward that a little bit. You see right now the Supreme Court is about to take up the what is it called? The oh gosh, it just escaped me. The birthright citizenship.
Birthright, yes.
Citizenship. Citizenship.
So revert back to what I just said. So all these people that are here that are under the asylum program and under the TPS program, they are naturalized citizens. So they're not actually technically American citizens. And so their children, so if they get deported, their children, just because they was born in the United States, technically are not U.S. citizens under the birthright citizenship clause.
No.
If the Supreme Court reverses that. So all of them will be subjected to exit the country.
Well, you know what? That is
Yep.
It is not a right to come to this country.
Correct.
You have no right. It is a privilege. When you come to this country, you should appreciate it, and you yourself should assimilate to becoming a United States citizen. That's the process.
Let's go.
It's just plain and simple.
Let's go.
So what gives these people the right to come over here and say, I'm from Somalia? We're going to take the bad stuff we had over there and we're going to bring it to the United States, and we're going to get rich with the politicians who allow us to do these things.
Freeze bank accounts.
And
Freeze
then
bank accounts.
piracy on land.
Drugs, everything.
Piracy on land. Come on now.
Yeah.
But see, you know what? This is what, and the reason why I keep referring back to the Black community. Black people, remember the war on drugs? When they came against the Black community and created that crime bill with the RICO Act, and they was taking Black men, they wasn't shipping them the hell out of America. They was shipping them to the prisons in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
They was
Democrats.
the Democrats.
By the way.
Joe Biden wrote the damn bill. Bill Clinton signed it. And Barack Obama helped implemented it, and it's still in effect today. It has not been totally repealed, and they're still using it right now, Randy.
And the crazy thing is, and I just said this, this is tied in to bringing in a migrant replacement system. This is all happening in the same year.
Replacement migration.
Yes,
it's happening in the same year. 1994 was the pinnacle year all this stuff started. And
yes.
So, hey, folks, y'all better wake up and pay attention. Pick up a history book. Even with a third grade level, you can, use AI to translate it for you.
What's sad about it is right now, and I have to touch on this situation because we have put forth a bill that's going to repeal the 94 crime bill in its entirety. Once we get it into the right place, I'm asking the Black community to stand behind us and let us push this bill through, because we got Black men sitting in prison for 25 and 30 years for what somebody said.
It shouldn't even be
okay. And they shouldn't even be there. Nonviolent crimes, 3 strikes you out. All of that was targeting the Black community. And we're still feeling the remnants of it right now, because we got thousands and thousands of Black men sitting locked up in jail with clemency numbers, and they have not been released. They haven't. And so this is part of that crime bill that targeted the Black community. And we still got Black families still torn apart behind the crack cocaine that was brought in under the Democratic leadership to infest our communities, to cause the havoc that it did. It created junkies. Then they created the laws to arrest us. Then they got the Negro pastors to support the bill. And guess what? It's still hurting us today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it's high time that we open these prisons and return these black men and women back home to their communities so they can get some of these jobs, and the American dollar will begin to increase the black community, because it should be black men and women taking these jobs that they've kicked all these illegals out, that we need those positions to rebuild our community. But ain't nobody said nothing about how we need to make sure that we start retraining the black community to be able to get these jobs. Now, have you, out of all these black politicians?
Nope.
No, because see, that's not the grift. That's the thing. That's the grift. They are the house Negroes. Like, we really have to go back to the plantation on this one. They are the ones sitting there going, we sick, massa, right? We sick. No,
when the house
you're
burning
sick
down, our house on fire.
For letting us stay out in the field to try to kill us, thinking as long as you stay close to the power structure, you're going to be okay. No, they're going to kill you off too. Because you know their plans. So you're going to die first before us. We see it coming, right? So maybe it's okay that we're in the field, because at least we can fight for ourselves now. But thank you for exposing yourself and letting us know exactly who you are. We know who you are, because we know you don't fight for us.
Exactly. Spot on there. I would say this, you know, the problem that we have is we've been embedded since the times of slavery. We've been embedded to be divisive amongst ourselves. We have the field Negro, the house Negro, that translated into the light skin, dark skin, translated to the haves and have-nots, and translated now into you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you're a coon, and this, that. So it's been a transitional hatred within our own culture for centuries now. And so we have to address that. We have to address that and break that cycle and say, look, you know, we're on the same team at the end of the day. You know, so what can we do to, you know, find that common ground and move forward to make our lives better? Not your life better, not my life better, but our lives better. How can we make this a win-win situation? You know, despite our ideological views and everything else, despite all that, how can we move forward and make this better? Because we know they're against us. We know they are against us.
Right.
So if you're not going to be for us, then, you know,
you're against us.
You're against us. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's crazy to me, but this is where we get in our community and in our culture today, and that's something that we need. We don't talk about,
and nobody wants
to have to heal.
Yeah, we do have to heal, but more importantly, if the black community is going to sustain itself, we have to start immediate with the elections that's coming up here in the next year or two, because we have to change the leadership. Everyday black people, we have to understand that the leadership that's in the black community doesn't give a shit about black people. We got all these educated Negroes from the HBCUs and all these other colleges that they holding their banners up for. They don't care about rebuilding the black community because they've been told that they somebody else that they not. That's the whole reason why I'm saying, check this out, Randy and Doc. Now, look how black people have assimilated to everybody else. We don't want to be ourselves, but we want to be like the Greeks. We don't want to be black people, but we want to be like the Hispanics. We don't want to be like the Africans, because that's too much like being right, because we would have to be somebody better than what we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a certain group of a nationality and we're going to assimilate to them. So what we have is we got black people who have assimilated to the Greeks. That's why we are Greeks now. Hell no, we're not no Greeks. Because the Greeks was a bunch of sissies.
I mean, they have. I mean,
you ain't lying
right.
there.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's all because we got away from God. Honestly, it's all because we got away from God. Because
that's what his name is.
You really look at slaves that were emancipated, that were rooted in biblical teachings that were rooted in really following God, not just following the way their master taught them to follow God, but really following God, we were a strong people who could not be denied. And that's why we were constantly destroyed. That's why they burned down all the towns. That's why they ran people off, because they were strong people.
Yeah.
Right. That they were afraid of. They were like, if they get too strong, they'll come and they will conquer us. We have to continuously conquer them. And so that's why we're scattered. We're scattered
and
right now.
Deuteronomy
We really
28.
have to come back to being
Deuteronomy
together.
28. Deuteronomy, boy, this is great because see, now let's talk a little bit about the spiritual war. Deuteronomy 28 stated that God's chosen people. This is the chosen people, the Israelites, the Hebrews, who disrespected God and was put into the second captivity. See, when he freed them out of Egypt and they came, they railed against God again once that he gave them and took them to the promised land. So God said, this time I'm going to fix you. I'm going to put you in boats. I'm going to scatter you across the world, and you will become servants to everybody else. And look at black people. That's us. We was brought from Africa, put on slave ships, brought to America. We have been scattered all over this world. God's chosen people. That's black people. That's why they don't want you to know your history. That's why they tried to tell you. Yep, that's why everybody trying to tell black people, yeah, y'all not God's chosen people, because y'all need to be like the Greeks. And maybe if y'all like the Chinese, they want black people to be everything except who we really are. We are descendants.
Hebrews to Negroes.
That's right.
I'm just going to put that out there. I'm just going to put that out there.
This is the awakening, though, because like 1619, 2019, that's 400 years. God never lies. If he said something after 400 years, I'm going to raise the remnants up that you will come back to me and you will be saved. This is the time. This is that time, black people. This is the time we organize ourselves. We rebuild our own communities. We invest financially into our own stuff and retrain our children and build our communities back the way they used to be when they had a Black Wall Street. See, it's a mindset. The war is being waged on us psychologically, because if I beat a person down so long, it's the Stockholm Syndrome attitude that black people have, the reason why we're in this condition. Dr. King's birthday is coming up, and Dr. King is rolling over in his grave to see how bad the black community and the shape that it's in right now. I just did an op-ed for Project 21 talking about the accomplishments of the black community. The black community ain't accomplished shit. We went back 100 years and enslaved our own self psychologically, and look at us now. So Dr. King died in vain, because we have not progressed, we regress. Your thoughts, Randy?
I say who? Because you know, you're absolutely right. You know, we have regressed a lot, you know, and given it's we're coming up on Black History Month, right? And I personally, I kind of like just gotten away from caring about it over the last, I guess, 5-10 years or so, because you don't see the achievements and the recognition of anything today that they did. So it's Black History Month. That was history. That was the history. We can't even celebrate ourselves because we ain't done anything, you know, since then. And so,
what progress has there been for the hard work that was put down?
Exactly. And so it's kind of like, and to your point, Pastor, you're absolutely right. We assimilated to everybody else. And I laughed at that because I was thinking about what you were saying with the Greeks and with the sororities and everything else. I was like, you're so right about that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We have assimilated because and now we immerse ourselves to say the Black and brown community, but you never hear the Browns say the brown and Black community.
They don't like us.
They don't. So you're absolutely right that we assimilate to everybody else, but it's I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing either, because it shows that we are leaders in that regard, and that we're influenced enough to embed ourselves into something, and give them the guidance that they need to make something happen. But we don't get the credit for it, nor do we take the credit for it. So I say all that to say this, that we do need to know where we came from and know who we are as people. And to Dr. Shack's point, you're right. Hebrews and Negroes, and a lot of people don't know that, or tend to forget that. There's a movie I encourage everybody to watch. It's called Emperor on the Zeus Network, and that movie highlights just how powerful the black man was in his community during the time of slavery.
Yes, sir.
And even the slave masters regarded to him was like, "Hey, come here." The overseers, they ain't doing the job right. You got control over your people, so this is what we need to make happen. And he was like, I got you.
Even in the slavery, and this is why I say America owes reparation to the black community, and this country is not going to be blessed until black people have been brought, and this thing has been put to rest, because they built this country. Yep. See, that's just like I'm saying, the evil. How is it that you would take a strong black man and call it buck breaking, and you would sodomize him and rape him in front of his own children and wife? See, that's the type of psychological warfare that has been played on black people. And our young people need to know this history. That's why they try to wipe it out. Because if you start raising up guys like me, then we're going to say, guess what? We're going to take our game, we're going to take our marbles, and we're going to move down the road. You just stay the hell away from us with all that bad characterism, so that we can raise our children and build a future.
Right. And my pastor, he did a sermon last Sunday, and he went over 1 Chronicles 4:9 and 10. But I'll just read 1 Chronicles 4:10. It says, Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain." And God granted his request. We need to get back to that.
Yes.
We've gotten away from that.
And that has been the downfall of us. Instead of going back to the basics, and Randy, we talked about the root to the American people and patriots across this country, especially to black Americans, we have to get back to the root of where we started from. We can't start from the Greeks. We can't start from we have to start from the root, which is Africa. And I'm encouraging people to pick up the Ethiopian Bible. You can keep the King James, because what ain't in the King James is in the Ethiopian Bible. That's an eye opener. It opened your eyes, because a lot of people don't believe into the Bible because the 66 books, there's a lot of stuff missing. But the Ethiopian Bible is the original Bible, and then you'll get the full-fledged of who you are and why we're in this condition. I'm going to play this clip, and we're going to get out of here. I want y'all thoughts on it.
Should be sent out of our country. She should not be allowed to be.
Federal investigators are currently tracing a staggering $30 million money trail that leads directly to the doorstep of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and her husband. Is this an unprecedented business miracle? Or have the feds finally pulled the thread on the largest COVID-era fraud scheme in American history? Minnesota didn't just stumble into a minor paperwork scandal. It walked right into a full-scale financial catastrophe. We are witnessing what experts call one of the largest pandemic-era fraud cases in United States history. And Representative Ilhan Omar is finding herself smack dab in the middle of it. Federal investigators from the FBI and U.S., Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, are now aggressively targeting the finances of Omar's husband, Tim Minett. This move comes after a jaw-dropping 3,500% spike in the couple's household wealth emerged amidst a wider probe into a $9 billion web of public corruption in Minnesota. For it, According to latest congressional financial filings, Ilhan Omar's reported net worth surged to as high as $30 million in a single year. To put that into perspective, go back to her 2023 disclosures. At that time, she reported assets near zero, with a maximum possible value of about $158,000. Now, the 2024 and 2025 filings tell a different story, placing the couple's net worth between $6 million and $30 million. This explosion in wealth happened exactly as federal prosecutors were charging over 90 individuals in a massive welfare fraud investigation centered right in Omar's district. Before we dive deeper into this $30 million mystery, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We go beyond the headlines to bring you the stories the mainstream media often ignores. Hit that bell icon to stay updated.
Loosened oversight enabled more than $250 million of fraudulent payouts.
The epicenter of this controversy is the Feeding Our Future scandal. This was a network of nonprofits that grew at an impossible rate during the COVID-19 pandemic. They capitalized on the 2020 Meals Act, a piece of legislation introduced by Ilhan Omar herself. While the bill was designed to loosen oversight to ensure kids didn't go hungry during lockdowns, investigators say it effectively opened the vault for criminals. In Minneapolis, sites claim to be serving thousands of children every single day. However, when the FBI actually showed up, they didn't find kitchens or meal prep stations. Instead, they found boarded up windows, locked doors, and empty buildings. While these local nonprofits were allegedly siphoning off hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, someone else's personal wealth was multiplying at lightning speed. The FBI's primary strategy is simple: follow the money. And that money trail led them to Tim Mynette's business ventures, specifically a venture capital firm called Rose Lake Capital. Look at the numbers. They are truly hard to believe. In 2023, Rose Lake Capital was disclosed on Omar's filings as having a value between $1 and $1,000. It was essentially a shell on paper. But just 12 months later, that same firm was suddenly valued between $5 million and $25 million. Another business, ESTCSU LLC, a winery in California, saw its value jump from $15,000 to over $1 million in the same time frame. If you find this investigation into government oversight important, please take a moment to hit that like button. It helps us continue producing these deep dive reports. It isn't just the sheer amount of money that has raised eyebrows, it's the timing and the connections. Federal records show that Omar's campaign accepted thousands of dollars in donations from multiple individuals who were later charged or convicted in the Feeding Our Future ecosystem. Take Gawad Hashi Saeed, for example. He was described as a campaign enforcer for Omar in 2018 and 2020. He was later convicted for his role in running a fake food site called Advanced Youth Athletic Development.
Yes, she's very involved in several of the people who have gone on to be indicted and convicted in what was one of the biggest pandemic-era frauds in America.
I think Omar's on very, very thin ice right now, and the more people dig into this...
Then there is the Safari restaurant in South Minneapolis. This wasn't just any local eatery. It was a cornerstone of the fraud scheme and a place Ilhan Omar publicly promoted for years. She even used the venue for her 2018 victory celebration. Prosecutors have described the fraud as network-driven, meaning the same names appeared across nonprofits, restaurants, and political circles.
But the largest single entity within the Feeding Our Future fraud was a restaurant in South Minneapolis called Safari Restaurant. And Ilhan Omar has close ties to the owners and operators of that establishment, a couple of whom have been...
While Omar's office claims they returned donations from these figures once the scandal broke, investigators are now asking how these fraud-linked individuals gained such high-level access in the first place. As the federal heat intensified, something very strange happened at Rose Lake Capital. The firm quietly began scrubbing its public image. Within weeks of fresh federal indictments being unrolled in Minnesota, the firm's website was stripped of its leadership bios. These weren't just any employees.
Her husband is Tim Mynette, and his consulting firm legally got about $3 million from her 2020 campaign.
The roster included former ambassadors like Adam Areli, former Senator Max Baucus, and senior Democratic National Committee operatives like William Darrow. Suddenly, their names and faces vanished from the site with no explanation. In the world of federal financial crimes, scrubbing your affiliations during an active investigation is rarely seen as routine housekeeping. It's often viewed as an attempt to minimize political exposure before the subpoenas start flying. We are about to get into the most controversial part of this case involving federal immigration records. If you're still with us, make sure you've liked the video. It helps us beat the algorithm and get the truth out. But the financial questions are only one half of the story. The investigation has now crossed into the territory of federal immigration compliance. Former acting ICE Director Tom Homan recently confirmed that the Department of Homeland Security is re-examining Ilhan Omar's immigration records. This stems from long-standing, though officially denied, allegations regarding marriage fraud. Homan stated that a senior Homeland Security fraud specialist, one of the top investigators in the country, advised that the file warranted a full review. This isn't just a political talking point anymore. It is a formal federal interest involving marriage records and immigration filings. While the statute of limitations is often cited as a defense, federal authorities emphasize that a review of national security screening and fraud compliance does not require prior charges. When asked about these parallel probes, Ilhan Omar has been brief and dismissive, calling the investigation sick and insisting that the feds will find nothing. She maintains that her wealth spike is purely the result of her husband's private business success and that any connection to the Minnesota fraud scandal is a right-wing disinformation campaign. However, the Feeding Our Future case has grown so large that some officials now estimate the total exposure could reach $9 billion when related programs are included. Minnesota's own U.S. attorney has called the state a national poster child for public corruption. The real danger for the Omar Minette household isn't just one single investigation. It's the intersection of many. When you have the FBI tracing financial flows, the IRS looking at 3,500% wealth spikes, and ICE reviewing immigration records all at once, the threads usually lead to a single point. If those threads point toward a coordinated effort to benefit from taxpayer-funded programs, the resulting legal explosion could be something the Minnesota political establishment never recovers from. The question remains, how does a firm go from being worth $1,000 to $25 million in the middle of a historic fraud investigation? And how did so many people convicted of stealing from children end up in the inner circle of a sitting congresswoman? We want to hear from you. Do you think this is a case of political targeting, or is the evidence of financial misconduct too large to ignore? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching this in-depth report.
Randy?
Even if it is political targeting, there's still a crime there. So, so it's immaterial to say that, oh, it's retribution, it's targeting. If there's a crime there and they're investigating a crime, whether it's politically involved or not, they still broke the law. They still committed crime. So, miss me with that. But on a larger scale, on a larger point, Ilhan Omar, every member of Congress, including her, they make $174,000 a year. And whether or not you have a business, whether or not it's a thriving, booming business, you will not make $30 million in a couple of years.
In a year, not a couple of years.
Exactly.
A year.
In a
24
year.
to 25.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Not even in a year. So let alone 5 years or let alone 20 years. How long you have served in Congress, you will not amass at $174,000 salary. You will not amass that amount of money, even if you spent not one single penny from your salary. You won't get there. I'm sorry. And so that right there would tell you. You look at your representatives, you look at your senators, and you see how much money that they're bringing in and the net worth and all that kind of stuff. That ought to be a red flag right out the gate to you. Lobbyists are ciphering the money off of whatever bills that they legislated on and all this kind of stuff. It's all a money pot. The stock trading, Nancy Pelosi, double-digit millionaire off of stock trading. And they're like, oh, no, we're not going to trade stocks anymore. It's bad. Okay, we're sorry. Okay, I tell you what, if you're really sorry, Congress, take half of your bank accounts, the current balance of your bank accounts, and return it back to the U.S. Treasury, and then in turn, the U.S. Treasury would distribute the checks to the American people. If you're really sorry, that's how I look at it.
They ain't that sorry. They're not that. They never will be. They give themselves raises. Look, they're probably going to give themselves another raise while they do a whole other government shutdown. I can't believe that the ACA has been extended for another 3 years. The grift is real. Look, all of the insurance companies said you cannot leave us destitute, even though we're making billions of dollars off of the American people, and that
they are making billions.
Proper insurance. Like, this whole thing is disgusting. But the one thing I'm grateful for is the consistent exposure since 2024. Cat Williams, when he dropped that bomb and he said, any and all things are going to be exposed, it has been downhill. I'm just saying, a Mack truck, 95 miles per hour, no brakes. You know, and the thing with Ilhan Omar, her arrogance, she's going to be deported. She's going to be denaturalized. Period. They're not putting up with her anymore in Congress. If George Santos could get removed from Congress for what he did, and you are leaving, ma'am, you're done. You're done, because they have all the records, every single thing that you did since the moment you married your brother. Okay, you were married 3 times. This is your 3rd marriage. Okay, the first one was the spiritual one. Oh no, I got all the documents on her. I already covered on Michelle. You know, and this whole thing with him, the jumping from 1,000 to 30 million, that is so suspect. Nobody's going to believe you in a court of law that your husband's company just was some kind of beneficiary. It was a beneficiary of what you were probably covering up with Feeding Our Future. You probably knew everything that they were doing, even though you wrote a letter saying there needs to be better guardrails on this. You knew there needed to be better guardrails because you wrote that. You wrote the legislation without the guardrails.
Exactly.
Okay. You purposely wrote it without the guardrails, and then you want to turn around and act like, well, see, I alerted them. Did you really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that goes to hold the truth that this last $1 million of the substance abuse that they scrubbed out of that they took out of the budget that they were supposed to get, and found that money to stop it. See what I'm saying? So she's guilty. I just think that this has exposed her and the American people. Let me say this, guys, if they were doing it in Minnesota, they doing it in Chicago, they doing it
everywhere.
They doing it
interior. It's everybody that handles the federal funding that comes in the state. It's all of those. It's that agency, and those people are handpicked by state officials. Just understand that they're not picked by the federal government; they're picked by the state. So this is all
that's the thing here in Illinois with J.B. Pritzker. See, the Black communities should have had enough of guys like J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson. We can clearly see that they don't have our best interest at hand in the state. J.B. Pritzker does not stand a chance to be governor again, because if he wins again, we know that they cheated in the election for sure, because J.B., Black people see your rusty ass, and we know you ain't nothing but a thief. Okay, and so you're not going to get that chance. So the other people that's running for office need to step their game up and really start talking about how bad JB is and putting him out on Front Street. Doc, your last words. We got to get out of here. It's been one.
Yeah, but thanks everybody for joining us here on Let the Truth Be Told, and definitely check out the USA Redemption Party. Remember, we are looking for servants of the people, not politicians. So check us out at usaredemptionparty.com.
Randy?
Hey, thank you all once again. This is a great discussion today. Truly appreciate it. You can follow me at rperham on all social medias, RPURHAM. You can check out my show on Permanent Associates on all the platforms that you like to stream through, Substack and all that good stuff. And keep your head on the swivel, folks, because this is about to be a wild ride. So,
folks, if you want to see Doc's show, you can go to Let the Truth Be Told Network. We do have our own platform now where you can go and watch previous shows, live shows there. LetTheTruthBeTold.lightcast.com. Go there and watch this evening show. That way you don't have no interruptions, like any music problems or whatever the case may be. But go to the platform, download the app, and carry us with us. We're the Let the Truth Be Told Networks. and that we can continue to give you great information and break these things down so the American people can understand it. Thanks, guys. I'll be seeing you later on. Have a great day. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. Let me say this to the American people and patriots across this country. The cover is off the corruption. We can clearly see what the Democratic Party has done, and we can clearly see why they did everything that they could to keep President Trump out the White House. I just feel the American people need to support President Trump and what they're doing with all these investigations, because now we're finding out who the real criminals are, and we're finding out why our country is not advancing like it should. Our communities here in America have been put on the back burner. Our taxpayer dollars have been given to people who have not spent one dime in this country. We went through so much stuff taking care of everybody else. When are the American people going to take care of our own citizens? We still got homelessness. We still got people living on the viaducts, eating out the garbage can. These are American citizens down on their luck, veterans. All the money that has been stolen out of Minnesota, all the money that's been stolen out of the state of Illinois, California by these rogue Democratic leadership has been taxpayer dollars. To the American people and patriots across this country, if we don't get all the corruption out, if we don't open up every door in every state and request an audit, just like what we're doing in Illinois, to find out who the real thieves are. And I can guarantee you this, the list will goes on to Barack Obama, the Clintons, Oprah Winfrey's, Stephen Harvey's, P. Diddy, all of them who served Satan, not God. All of them who have implemented this whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing across our country. If the American people cannot see clearly that the Democratic Party has become the satanic Democrat Party, if we can't see that and we don't build a structure back to God, this country is going to fall. God bless you. Enjoy your evening and share it around. Let the truth be told. Let the truth be told. It'll create vision and move your soul. Thank you. Make great.